me, Tia Martinez. Sorry I couldn't be here with you guys today. I'm feeling very ill, so sorry if I sound a little Squidwardy right now. I decided to do my project on Mexican migrants and child trafficking. I decided to do my lecture on this topic because I was born and raised by the southern in, sorry, I was born and raised by the southern border, um, exactly 15 miles away from it. Um, so this really um, just shifted my eyes towards it because I always used to say that human trafficking or child trafficking did not affect me. And for most of my life, I was completely desensitized from the issue. Um, but it was all around me, and honestly, it was like literally happening in my backyard. Um, I have friends who probably were affected by this, peers. Honestly, when I think back on it now, I probably knew people who were suffering from this, and I was just so blindsided from it and didn't see any of it going on. But yeah, so that's why I chose it. Um, so this is my table of contents. We're going to be going over child trafficking with migrants. Why is it a problem? Unaccompanied children. What can we do to protect children? Understanding trafficking at the border, migrant smuggling as an economic activity, exploitations of migrant children, human trafficking story, which is a really interesting story that I'm gonna share with you guys. Child sex trafficking and prevention of child trafficking. Um, so child trafficking within migrants. I got this from one of the articles. There's obviously a lot of factors that come into play when it comes with child trafficking. There's individual factors listed here. There's family, like such poverty, migration for the individual. There's race, ethnicity, gender, runaway, thrown away, substance misuse, history of abuse and neglect. Um, excuse me. There's community, such as natural disaster, um, violence, lack of awareness of human trafficking, societal, gender basis, discrimination, violence, lack of acknowledgement of children's rights, systemic inequalities. Um, Child trafficking is a problem with migrants because there are children who are being exploited. Tens of thousands of children are not being taken care of because they are being seen as criminals. And down here we can look at this human trafficking is a complex phenomenon fueled by tremendous growth in the global sex market. Exploitation is driven by poverty, uneven development, official corruption, gender discrimination, harmful traditional and cultural practices, civil unrest, natural disasters, and lack of political will to end it. And this was really important to me because I kind of go over how they are being seen as criminals because they are engaging in these activities at a really young age because there's no other way out. And finally, when they come out of it, they're probably no longer um, children anymore, and they're seen as adults, and then they're just portrayed as criminals, and they're not getting the help they need. They're not getting the resources they need. Um, More and more children and their families from Central America are making the trek to the United States, however, risking grave danger as their desperation for a chance to be safe grows. Smugglers, traffickers, and other criminals often take advantage of this desperation among migrants, particularly unaccompanied accompanied children. Sorry, guys. Um, the current process for returning these children to Mexico is either standardized nor consistently safe. Children are returned with and without legal assistance. Children may be deported instead of returned. Some children are returned to the nearest port of entry rather than directly to their home communities, which does increase their risk of being trafficked. Therefore, the government should focus efforts on strengthening coordination with the United States and its migration management structures, both on enforcement and services, and on improving return procedures of victims of child trafficking. So, this is literally I don't want to say simple way, but a way we can protect these children because it's just not safe the way that they are being handled or anything. It's really not fair at all. And again, these are literally children. They do not know what's happening. They probably don't even know how people are looking at them, what other people view them in their eyes, and they're literally being looked at as bad and bad people, and they're just children. Um, and then understanding trafficking at the border. Trafficking is an issue of coercion or violence to force a person to work as a sex laborer, including but not limited to sexual acts. It is hard to estimate how many victims of trafficking may be present in the United States, as trafficking is a crime that hides in the shadows, but national agencies fighting trafficking estimate that there were several 100,000 cases of trafficking of all kinds each year placing the United States taking place in the United States. However, relatively few of these victims are taken across an international border into the United States. Most are US citizens victimized inside the country. Trafficking and smuggling are frequently confused, and by the terms, unfortunately, are used sometimes used interchangeably by the media or government officials. But under immigration law, smuggling is defined as a crime in which one party pays another to assist an individual in crossing the border. Smuggling involves business transactions in which an individual agrees to pay for the smuggler's services. The more dangerous the border crossing, the higher fee the smugglers charge. But many people may feel it is safer to use smugglers rather than to travel on their own. Migrant smugglers, typically portrayed as foreign criminals who have hijacked borders worldwide, are practically um, intrinsic to contemporary discourses of migrant management and control. Smugglers are frequently depicted in media, academic, and political narratives as adult men of color from global south who, as members of organized crime, follow complex business model to prey on the desperation of and vulnerability of migrants. Um, and obviously, the way that I'm tying child trafficking and smuggling is that these human traffickers are taking children and using them as smugglers to get the job done. And that's why I'm saying that later they are being portrayed as criminals rather than survivors slash victims of human trafficking. So in the Sanchez book, which was an awesome little article we read, she really gets the voices of these children who are being forced, well, yeah, to partake in these activities. So children benefited financially from their activities, although their compensation varied greatly and assignments were infrequent. So an example from one of the Sanchez's was when a teenage boy who worked as a guide explained how by the age of 12 his involvement in smuggling had made him had made his family the main provider role he understood as traditionally reserved to adult men. Working allowed him to fulfill social hierarchies and expectations, but also reproduce and reinforce them. And this young little boy said, excuse me, we were able to buy pizza for everyone. You know, the one with ham and pineapple, that was my favorite. I was only 12. I knew what it meant to be able to buy that for myself, for my little siblings. Se siente bonito. It feels nice. To be able to buy shoes and clothes for everyone, to tell my mom not to worry, that I can take care of things. I also realized that my little siblings looked up to me as a father. They would call me Pop, and my boss liked me because I was a good worker. That also made me feel good, that I could be of service, that what I did meant something. So this really gets me emotional because these are little kids, and they're doing this for their family and they feel obligated to do this. And obviously, it is like a cultural thing, like the men being traditionally reserved, like as the main provider of the home. And it is just very gut wrenching that this was the only way that he felt important. Um, the exploitation of migrant children. Um, they travel alone, and obviously they're at greater risk. They're in search of a better job, education, opportunities. Some children want to escape domestic violence. Many of these children are from indigenous communities and don't have access to the same resources that we have, such as education, healthcare, housing, and work opportunities as the rest of the population. Um, so some young girls from Guatemala will end up in prostitution because they're trafficked from Mexico for domestic labor, mainly because they probably thought they were hardworking, innocent, and less pretty because of their indigenous features, making it less likely for male members of the Mexican family to engage any relationship with them. And these young girls are often as young as 10 years old. They come from poor and rural communities close to the Mexican border, and they're easy prey for traffickers. So that's just really, really, really unfortunate. Um, and this is one of the human trafficker cases that I ran across. Her name is Carla Jacinto. I think I'm saying it right. She is a sex trafficking victim, and her case just really stood out to me because she says that she was raped over 43,000 times. And her story is just really awful and so heartbreaking. And I'm sure there's a lot more cases like hers. But this is a quick, like 3.5 minute video we can watch.
Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee, thank you for taking the time to listen to my story.
Mi nombre es Carla Jacinto. Hoy tengo una voz, pero por más de 4 años.
My name is Carla Jacinto, and today I have a voice. But for more than 4 years of my life, from the age of 12, as a little girl whose mother had thrown her out on the streets, open to anyone wanting to take advantage of my vulnerabilities, I fell prey to a professional pimp who, after 3 months of wooing me and treating me as a princess, brought me up on a corner and forced me to work the streets for his own gain.
Por años fui coaccionada, intimidada, amenazada.
For years and years, I was coerced, intimidated, threatened, beaten, robbed of my children, and emotionally and sexually violated time and time again.
Durante esos años fui obligada a servir.
During those years, I was forced to serve every type of fetish imaginable to more than 40,000 clients. Of those, many were foreigners visiting my city looking to have sexual interactions with minors like me.
Les pido por favor que traten de ponerse en mis zapatos.
Please try to put yourself in my shoes, broken, abandoned, violated, hurt, denigrated, and enslaved at a time when I should have been playing with dolls and looking forward to a fun day at school.
Hoy puedo estar agradecida de estar parada ante ustedes, una mujer reintegrada.
Today I am thankful to be able to stand before you as a reintegrated woman.
A los 16 años,
at the age of 16, a man that had become a regular client was able to see beyond the short-term pleasure into the eyes of a broken girl.
Me ayudó a escapar. Y entré a un
He helped me
refugio
escape, and I entered from the Fundación Camino a Casa shelter. There I received the help, care, time, attention, and love that I needed to put the broken pieces of my soul back together.
También conocí a Rosy Orozco, quien me ha ayudado a seguir creciendo hasta convertirme en una gran activista.
I also met Rosy Orozco, who has helped me grow into the activist I am today.
Tengo 22 años. Y por los últimos 5 años he dedicado mi vida
I am 22, and for the last 5 years, my life has been dedicated to raising my voice to anyone willing to hear that we exist, that there are thousands of little girls in my country being used for the pleasure of those who only live for their own desires, economic gain, and exertion of power.
Está en nosotros, los gobiernos
It is
y
up
las
to us,
organizaciones
both
trabajar
governments
juntos
and
para
not
prevenir
government
este crimen,
organizations,
castigar a
to work
aquellos que lo
together to
cometen,
prevent this
buscar y
crime,
rescatar a
punish
los
those who
que ya
commit them,
están
to look and
enredados en la
rescue
red
those who
y
already
promover el
cut in the
cuidado
web,
que
and to
necesitan
provide
para su sanidad y
the care
reintegración
necessary
en una
for their
sociedad
healing
que
and
les
reintegration
que
to
les
a healthy
recibe.
society.
Nadie puede hacerlo por sí solo. Todos somos responsables. A todos nos afecta. Todos podemos hacer algo.
No one person can do it himself or herself. We are all responsible. We are all affected, and we can all do something.
Hoy, sus electores les han escogido para tener
Today,
posición de
your people
influencia
have chosen you to have a
verdaderamente pueden
position of
hacer una
influence
diferencia.
that can
Y
truly
espero
make a
que mi
difference.
historia les
And I
apoye a
hope that
tomar
my
las
story
decisiones
will help you
necesarias
make some
que pongan un
choices
fin a
that will
este
put a
crimen.
stop to this horrible crime.
Today.
Thank you.
So yeah, that was one of the videos that I wanted to share, and it was just really powerful in the end when she said, not one person can fix this, but we are all responsible, and it is affecting all of us. So that was really powerful to me. And then Mexico is in a unique position to, because of its proximity to the United States, the land of opportunities. And there's at least 16,000 children are victims of child trafficking for sexual purposes. Social and economic disparities within the country lead to right violations and hamper the protection available to children. Therefore, a significant number of Mexican girls and boys are trafficked within Mexico for sexual exploitation, often lured from poor districts, border and tourist areas through false offers of employment. Um, and it is imperative to provide protection to children who have fallen prey to criminal undertakings. Because, again, they're children and nobody asked for this. They didn't ask for this. They felt it was their only way for a better life and they need protection. And these are my citations, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm so sorry I couldn't be here with you guys today.